Do you love the sound of blasting trumpets, and do you hate your neighbors? Do you want everyone within a 5-mile radius to hate you every time you come home? Then the Nissan 350Z might just be the car for you. Today we're talking about everyone's love to hate it favorite, the 03 to 08 Nissan 350Z. Are they great cars? Are they terrible cars? Should you call the cops on your 17-year-old neighbor who just put a Tomei on his? You'll have to keep watching to find out. The Nissan 350Z is an entry into Nissan's long line of Z cars. Starting in the 1970s with the 240Z, and really not much has changed since then. The Z has always been a front-engine, rear-wheel drive, 6-cylinder, 2-seater, mostly 2-seater, sports car, and the 350Z was not looking to break the mold there. Nissan's first attempt at the 350Z was the 240Z concept unveiled in 1999, which drew a ton of parallels back to the original 240Z from the 1970s. Fitted up with the KA24DE from its contemporary, the 240SX, this new but old but new 240Z received a lukewarm reception, and so back to the drawing board Nissan went. The boys at Nissan put their collective heads together and came up with a revolutionary design for the 350Z, a front-engine, rear-wheel drive, manual or automatic, 6-cylinder sports car. Wildly different from the rest of the Z line, right? Anyway, this new Z debuted in 02 and 5 trim levels, the base, enthusiast, performance, touring, and track, and was a pretty instant hit. Coming in at 26 grand for the base all the way up to 34 grand for the track model, the Z wasn't cheap. Yes, kids, pre-inflation money existed, but packed a lot of punch per dollar. That same car now would be like $58 million. Every trim level came with a VQ35DE engine, putting out 287 horsepower, which was a lot back then. For comparison purposes, an 01 Mustang GT made 260 horsepower with 1.1 liters more displacement and 2 additional cylinders. The Z was available in a manual or automatic transmission, and the base was, well, pretty base and was kind of a retired dad sports car spec. No LSD, no traction control, 17-inch wheels, perfect for outfitting with an automatic transmission, convertible top, and driving to Cars and Coffee on Saturday with one of those little boards that tells people that yours was the only one built on a Thursday. Meanwhile, the higher trim model, starting with Enthusiast and going up from there, came with a VLSD 18-inch wheels VDC, which is just like fancy traction control that you want to throw out anyway, and all the way up to the track model with Brembo brake and everything the lower trims included. Any way you sliced it, the US sports car market at the time was in the midst of a knife fight, and Nissan brought a rocket launcher. As time went on, Nissan revised the Z, mostly cosmetic stuff, but with 2 engine changes over the years. First, the rev up in 05, which made 300 horsepower and consumed more oil than the entirety of Europe does on an annual basis. There was a recall. Kinda don't buy one of these still, and even then, if you do, get the recall done. In 07, the VQ35DE became the VQ35HR, which Nissan claims stands for High Revolution, and introduced the dual throttle body plenum, making 306 horsepower and around 268 foot-pounds of torque. These also got a pretty cool hood bulge to fit the new plenum, and are one of the most desirable years of the 350Zs as a result. So now you know the full history of the 350Z, but before I tell you whether or not you should buy one of these, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, and let us know what car we should cover next. We're trying to do a video every single damn day. Sorry, editors. If you have a Z, click the link in the description, add it to our vehicle gallery to help others dial in their fitment, and check out some Zs to get inspired. Now back to the action. So at this point, you're wondering, Jake, should I buy a Z? And the answer is like, yes. Oh my god, yes, absolutely. Honestly, as much as it's trendy to give these cars and their owners shit, they really are one of the best bang for your buck sports car packages out there, pound for pound, dollar for dollar. And I'm here to tell you why. Hopping on over to the old Facebook Marketplace, there are a ton of different levels of 350Z out there, but in general, you can scoop a shitbox missile for 3,500 bucks, a nice enough one for 6,500, or a cream puff for 10 grand. Bearing in mind everything you get: bulletproof engine with plenty of power and torque, awesome manual transmission in the CD009, LSD, Brembo brakes, and all that wrapped up in a modern enough car that has AC, power steering, radio, and heck, even leather seats if you want that kind of thing. You can't do much better for the price. The Z is a great driver's car in stock form, and you can honestly pick one of these up bone stock and just enjoy the heck out of it. Us personally, we can't leave well enough alone, but if you can, that could be a great option for you. Before I tell you how to modify one of these things and take a nice stock car and f it all up, there are some issues on these cars, but they're so minor that you shouldn't let them deter you from buying one. The door handles, they like to fail for some reason. They're pretty cheap, and just replace them every time they break. The window motors and regulators, something in the window assembly, also likes to fail. Same concept. Replace them, pull your door panel off, put a new one in, it's cheap. The 04.5 and 05 cars burn a ton of oil. There was a recall in TSB for this. It may or may not have been done on your specific car. Keep a quart of oil in the car, top it off. All VQs kind of burn oil, but these ones are particularly bad about it. The verts, why am I telling you about this? You're not buying a vert. Save those for retired dads who want to hit cars and coffee. They're fine, but they're a little heavier. In central Vermont. God damn it, Haley! The guy pushed me in the damn road! Cam and crank sensors. These cars do eat cam and crank sensors for one reason or another. When they fail, your car just ceases to start and run. They're cheap to replace, but they're way in the back. In a tight engine bay, they're a pain to access. The throttle body reset is a pain on this car, and if done properly, your car will run like garbage. Find someone to reset it properly if you're concerned about this. The clutch and throwout bearing. The throwout bearings are super noisy on Z's for some reason. I've owned a bunch. I've never had one that doesn't make noise. I would ignore it. You may not want to. The hatch struts will almost always fail. You won't care. Keep a jack pole in the trunk to keep your hatch open. These are all pretty minor. Ignore them, fix them, or don't. Motors are like $600 if they blow, and you're not gonna break a CD009, so just kind of drive the thing. Now, Z's get a pretty shitty reputation in the community for either sounding like band practice, that is to say someone blowing a fucking trumpet directly in your ear, or for being that guy who does donuts at the park and chill. The stigmas are, well, they're kind of correct. This is what happens when you have a cheap rear-wheel drive manual car, but you can avoid this by modifying your car well and not being that guy. The Z is a super popular sports car chassis, so if you can think about doing it, it's probably already be done. Drift car, drag car, stance car, time attack car, street car, heck, we've seen a few off-road builds. For the purposes of this video, I'm gonna quickly run you through the basics of modifying your Z, and if you have questions about how to do so, pick up the phone. I know you're Gen Z or millennial. It's scary. Phones are scary. Give us a ring, hit the number, call us, we'll help you out. The first thing to do on these cars, in my opinion, is close up the wheel gap. You can do this with lowering springs, but the suspension is probably worn out on your 20-year-old Z, so coilovers are the way in my opinion. BC Racing if you got a little bread, True Heart if you got no bread, and Fortunato if your crypto gamble's paid off and you're balling out of control. Any of these will solve your wheel gap issue and improve the handling of an already great handling car. Next up, wheels and tires. Big shocker. The guy from the wheel company is telling you to buy wheels. Well, one, yeah, obviously, it's literally my job. And two, the stock wheels suck and the Z looks so good with a good wheel setup. If you're looking for something budget-friendly, NK, ESR, Koenig, or Heritage Cast are great on these cars. If you're in the mid-range, around $1,800, some work in motions, WED Sports, or Graham Lights will finish your Z off nicely and get you into that kind of JDM cool kids club. On the higher end, the Japanese Big Four work WEDs, SSR, and Volk Racing, K kind of 5, but Advan and Volk are like similar. Advan's like $1,000 more for like the same wheels. I'm not sure why you buy them, but you do you. Anyway, Japanese wheels, Japanese sports car, don't overthink it. TE37s or Nismo LMGT4 if you can find them for the track boys, VSXXs or Meisters for the stance boys. Good specs on a Z are as follows. If you have a daily driver, 18.5 25 to 35 front, 18.5 22 to 35 rear. Stancy boy, 18.5 plus 12 front, 18.10.5 plus 12 rear. Track, 18 by 9 to 9.5 plus 25 front, 18.10 to 11, 25 rear. Super duper squished Hot Wheels stance setup, 18 by big in the front, super negative offset, 18 by even bigger in the rear with even more negative offset. 350Zs have insanely wide fenders. You can kind of just buy whatever you want and stick it on there. If you're really going to force me to come up with a number here, I don't know. 18 by 10 plus 0 front, 18 by 11 negative 10 rear. But there's such a broad spectrum of stance fitments in terms of camber, fender rolling, etc., etc., etc. You should just call a fitment expert at this phone number right here and talk to them about what you want to do with your Z. Okay, let's run through the rest now. Intake and exhaust. We sell performance parts, by the way. You can pick these up from us. Intake-wise, buy whatever you like. They kind of all do the same thing. I like InGen. You'll gain some horsepower. K&N's also great. They're both American brands, both very reliable. Exhaust. This is a big one. You don't want to sound like that guy blasting a trumpet everywhere you go. Contrary to what YouTubers might tell you, sorry, fresh kicks, a Tomei DA is not always the move. There are catbacks available from $189 on eBay. Do not buy this. Up to thousands of dollars. The Z is a good sounding car in stock form and in my opinion doesn't need much. Tomei or HKS single exit if you want it to absolutely scream. NVIDIA Gemini if you want something closer to stock, which in my opinion sounds really good. If the editors are feeling nice, maybe they'll insert some sound clips here. gonna stance this thing out, you need arms, lots of them, front uppers, front lowers, rear lowers. Basically, take the word front, take the word rear, take the word upper, lower, arm, rod, traction, tension, camber, toe, and create every permutation of them in some kind of matrix. Buy all of those, bolt them on your car, call it a day. SPL makes great ones, Trueheart makes budget ones, GK Tech makes awesome ones, any of them work. If you're building a drift car, it's the same as the stance idea. Buy all those arms, but also buy an angle kit, not WiseFab, unless you want your fitment to suck. Weld your diff, the VLSD does not lock super hard, and nothing's worse than a one-tire fire, and that's really it as far as what you need on these cars. Get it tuned to take advantage of the additional airflow, skip the headers, they're a pain to install, and for the love of all that is holy, do not install a damn flame tune on your car. For those that want to take things a little further, the VQ35 really likes boost, and there's no shortage of options as far as that goes. The internet claims 400 wheel is the stock bottom end limit, but we've seen cars live at like 700. Your call as far as you want to go. You can buy a VQ35 for like 600 bucks, so don't be afraid to blow these things up. Greddy and HKS make turbo kits, and I've had a Greddy Twins kit on my car. It's really cool. There's also a ton of supercharger kits out there, depending on how you want the power delivered. So what are your thoughts? Are you buying a Z33? Why or why not? In our opinion, yes. Buy one. I'm a big fan of these cars. I've had a bunch. They're great as a first car to modify or as an extensive build. They're the new 240SX in many ways, and in my opinion, the time to jump on them is now before prices get even more insane. If this video helped in your decision to buy or not buy a Z, let me know in the comments down below, and please do me a favor by hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, commenting down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.